As we reported earlier tonight, an appeals court ordered General Michael Flynn's case to be dismissed. Here now is the author of the #1 New York Times bestseller, Unfreedom of the Press. He also is the host of the #1 show, 8 p.m. Sunday nights, Life, Liberty, Levin, right here on the Fox News Channel, nationally syndicated radio host, and for good reason, I call him the Great One, Mark Levin. You know, Mark, we talk about the Constitution. You've written books that I think are the best written on that topic. We talk about the rule of law. That Constitution is our rule of law. You see this abuse of power. You see this attempted coup. You see what they're still doing to General Flynn and others. I want to know your thoughts.
My thought is that the Obama administration was a mobster operation. The way that they used the FBI and the intelligence agencies goes all the way up to the Oval Office. I've been telling everybody that from day one. It's no way a president of the United States doesn't know what his consigliaries are doing. The FBI was used to spy on the candidate Trump. The FBI was used with the FISA court to take out President Trump. It was coordinated with the Hillary campaign and their phony dossier. They tried to criminalize this case with the appointment of a special prosecutor to go after Russia collusion. The only people in modern history that have colluded with the Russians are the Democrats. They've colluded with them from FDR and Alger Hiss to Ted Kennedy and beyond. This president has been put through the ringer. They make him the enemy. Our media, you know, the Russian media is more free and more honest than the American media. At least they admit they're a mouthpiece for a dictator. The Democrat Party media doesn't admit exactly what they are, but that is exactly what they are. What happened to General Flynn is a disgrace. What's happened to the President of the United States and his family is a disgrace. We have an attorney general and I believe a U.S. attorney who are trying to get to the bottom of this. It's a very good thing. But I want to talk more now about the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party has been at war with America for a very long time. The Democrat Party was the party of the Confederacy. After the Civil War, the Democrat Party was where so many of the Klansmen found a home. The Democrat Party supported segregation. Right up to the 1960s, it was the Republicans who passed, really with supermajorities, the Civil Rights Acts and so forth and so on. But because the media in the back pocket of the Democrat Party, the one and the same, the history of the Democrat parties never told. The Democrat Party never supports Americanism. Even today, democratic socialism. How about Americanism? Now, I want to talk about something. I'm watching these monuments come down, the Jefferson Monument, the Washington Monument. I want to ask these people, these are Biden's Bolsheviks. That's what they are. Every one of them is going to vote Democrat. Not a single one of them is going to vote for Trump. These are Democrat cities, Democrat looters, Democrat arsonists, Democrat mostly peaceful protesters with a Democrat media. So let's be clear, this is one party that's fighting in our cities and against our country. But I want to talk about Biden's Bolsheviks. You know who these people are? These are former Bernie Sanders supporters. That's exactly who they are. Black Lives Matter, the co-founders, they said they want to get Trump out. These are Bernie Sanders supporters. And they become mercenaries, Bolsheviks, for Biden. You're going to pull down Jefferson's memorial. I want to ask these people a question. The Declaration of Independence, the first draft was written by Thomas Jefferson. Should we burn that too? Should the Declaration of Independence apply to the Antifa, to the Biden Bolsheviks? If you're going to pull down his monuments, I say we rip up the Declaration of Independence as applies to them. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. Got a problem with that? That they are endowed by their creators with certain unalienable rights. Got a problem with that? That among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. Well, if you're going to pull that man's statues down, then I think we ought to rip up the Declaration as applies to Biden's Bolsheviks. Now let's take a look at the Constitution. And by the way, you know who voted for the Declaration of Independence? It was the Second Continental Congress. I wonder if these marauders even know there were two Continental Congresses, but there were. Men who didn't own slaves and men who did own slaves. And you know our Constitution, the Bill of Rights. It was the first Congress where we got the Bill of Rights that was sent to the states. All kinds of people were in that Congress. Men from free states, men from slave states. And you know what they gave us? The Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights. You have Black Lives Matter, which is a Marxist anarchist organization. This isn't about race. It's about Marxism. This is about anarchism. It's about defeating Trump, as I said. These are Biden supporters and Democrat Party voters. These are former Bernie Sanders backers. Now let's take a look at the Bill of Rights. The men who voted for the Bill of Rights in that Congress and the men who voted for the Bill of Rights in the ratification conventions were free men, or men who came from free states and slave states. So the right to protest and freedom of speech, you know where that comes from? Those men. Also, when you look at the Fourth Amendment, warrants shall not issue upon probable cause. You know where that came from? Those men. Look at the Fifth Amendment, indictment by a grand jury, due process of the law. You know where that came from? Those men. The right to a speedy public trial by an impartial jury, the Sixth Amendment, came from those men. Look at the Eighth Amendment. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. It came from those men, a combination of men from free states and men from slave states. And meanwhile, Antifa, Black Lives Matter, the Biden Bolsheviks, they wave around the Constitution and the Declaration while they're pulling down the monuments who actually wrote them and ratified them. These are clowns. These are ignoramuses. These are people who want to destroy our country from within. These are Democrats. This is a wing of the Democrat Party. Please understand this, ladies and gentlemen. Meanwhile, I'll prove it to you. There's a big, beautiful Franklin Delano Roosevelt monument between the Lincoln Monument and the Jefferson Monument. You know what's not happening there tonight? Protests, graffiti, ropes to pull it down. There's no National Guardsman protecting the Franklin Roosevelt monument. Why is that? Because he was a big socialist. They love Roosevelt. But he sent 120,000 Japanese Americans to internment camps. Does that matter? Apparently not. Do Japanese lives matter? I think they should. What else hasn't been torn down? The Russell Senate Office Building, named after a segregationist senator from Georgia, but a Democrat, Richard Russell. While Nancy Pelosi at night is walking through the Capitol looking for portraits and statues to take down, why doesn't she look across the street at the Russell Office Senate Building? Why don't they take that down? I don't know. And well, speaking of Pelosi, why is she mum? She's never mum. She's usually mumbling gibberish as she walks from meeting to meeting. Why don't they talk about her father? Her father was so proud of the monument they put in Baltimore of two Confederate big-time generals, and her father praised them and praised them. You know what that means, the Biden Bolsheviks? She needs to go. It's in her blood, and we know it's in the DNA. We can't fix it. What else? Robert Byrd. Robert Byrd was the Grand Kleagle. I don't even know what the hell a Grand Kleagle is. Of the Ku Klux Klan in West Virginia. West Virginia broke from Virginia. And join the Union.
Hang on. We're gonna hold you over. When we come back, we're gonna play one of the leaders of Black Lives Matter was on the channel earlier tonight, and Nancy Pelosi actually blaming Republicans for what happened to George Floyd and the latest on the lawlessness that is rampant in Democratic-run cities. The Great One weighs in on that as we continue. Straight ahead.